Stop going to the school by yourself. Stop going to the school by yourself. Well, I'm not scared of them white people. I don't need nobody to go with me. That's exactly why you need somebody to go with you. Because you're going to get upset and you're going to get angry, black father. And the minute you show signs of anger, guess what the white teacher going to do? She's going to jump under the table on your ass and say, oh my God, the vein in his forehead got very large and his pupils dilated and my heart began to beat and I feared for my safety. And you're going to say, I didn't threaten you, miss. I know you didn't, but your demeanor shifted. And now you're getting a restraining order. Never allowed to go back to your child's school again because you went by yourself. I won't even go to the school by myself for my daughters. And they know who I am. Because I don't want no restraining order. Black men, they are restraining and ordering black men out of schools all across this country. Stop going alone. Bring your brother, bring your nephew, mothers, bring somebody with you. And for the women, I prefer you bring a male. I know my feminist sisters got a problem I said that. Okay? Because y'all don't need a man for nothing. I understand. I understand. But the reason I want mothers to bring a man with them is because sometimes you are confronting men. And sometimes they like to try to disrespect female energy when she ain't being backed up by some masculine energy. So mothers, bring somebody with you. I don't care if it's the corner boy selling weed. Tell John, get your ass in this school meeting. In fact, I prefer you bring the corner boy. You know why? Because he ain't scared of nothing. But whatever you do, don't bring a brother with skinny jeans on. I got an email last week from one of our homosexual brothers. He said, Dr. Johnson, I follow your work, brother. I support you. I've donated to the school. I'm homosexual, but I would like to teach at FDMG. Why would you discriminate against me? Or are you saying I have no place? I said, here's the issue, brother. Human beings are creatures of energy. I don't have to tell you what Dr. Umar Johnson believes. 5 minutes around me, you will have a pretty good inclination of what the hell I live for. You understand me? If I let a homosexual male go amongst our boys, he never has to say he's gay. But his energy will non-verbally communicate to our sons that he is of another persuasion. The brother said, well, I'm a nationalist. I'm a Pan-African nationalist, a gay nationalist. I said, well, I don't have a problem with the fact that you want your own nation for gay people. In fact, I will help you get your own nation for gay people. I have no problem with you all congregating as a family in your own state. In fact, I'm writing a letter to Obama tomorrow. Please give them a state. Because if they had their own state, the heterosexuals wouldn't have to go through what we go through. We wouldn't have to worry about being called homophobic because we disagree with the behavior. We don't have to be charged with hate crimes because we disagree with the lifestyle. We don't have to worry about our kids being brainwashed into gay life in public school. So guess what? If you are a gay nationalist and an advocate of an independent gay republic in these United States, I will be the first to sign your petition. But I love my homosexual and lesbian brothers even though I disagree with their lifestyle. Because I'm a therapist at heart. And having been doing therapy for almost 20 years, I've come across far too many cases of homosexual black men who came into that lifestyle not because they were born that way, not because of anything other than childhood molestation. I've worked with too many lesbian black women who came to the lifestyle by virtue of the way that they were treated or mistreated, or saw their mothers treated or mistreated, or by way of sexual abuse. So I can't beat them down, brothers and sisters. I'm not going to hate them. No, I won't do that. Because I understand where the illness comes from. I know where it comes from. See, let's understand something. The reason we have this problem in the first place is because some people have no business living with ICE people. Once upon a time, God created a group of people called the Sun People. They lived under the sun. The sun provided them with everything they needed. If they got hungry, fruit fell from the tree. If they needed vegetation 2 or 3 times a year, it would pop up from the ground beneath them. If they needed fresh rainwater or drinking water, they could go and get it. If they needed clothing, there was animals that they could get that from and plants to make it. Because the sun was abundant, it provided the Sun People with abundance. And so Sun People developed a psychology that was based on sharing. Sun People developed a psychology based on taking care of other people. Sun People developed a psychology of love and collectivism. Why? They didn't need to steal nothing because the sun would give it back if it ran out. They didn't need to control no resources because the sun would give them more if it exhausted itself. These people lived communally. They didn't have to lock their doors. They didn't have to worry about stealing because they were people under the sun. The most egalitarian human beings you can ever find. They never learned to be scared. They never learned to hate. They never learned to harm people. If they wanted it, they prayed for it. And most of the time they didn't have to pray for it because it was already there. The Sun People. They lived in harmony with nature. The Sun People. They believed that men should be with women and women should be with men. The Sun People. They had no concepts of feminism. They had no concepts of homosexuality. They had no concepts of anything that was anti-nature. Because the Sun People were a nature-based people. But there was another group of people called ICE people. They didn't have no damn sun. Truth be told, they didn't have no damn soap either. Sun People lived under the cold. It always was cold. Nothing grew from the trees. Nothing sprouted from the ground. They lived in caves, under rocks, and in the soil that they did have, it never produced anything because it wasn't nutrient rich. So Sun People developed a psychology of always having to manipulate other people to get what they needed because they did not eat unless they stole it from someone who had. They developed a psychology of trickery because the only thing that they could provide was what they could hoist from others. In fact, ICE people had no system of family because they didn't know whether they would live another day or not. And if they got too hungry, they didn't go hunting because there was nothing to hunt. They had to kill and eat each other. ICE people could not live in harmony with nature. Why? Because nature did not provide for them. How do you expect me to respect the sun? The sun never gave to us like it gave to the Sun People. How do you expect me to respect the moon? You tell me to reverence the hurricane and the tornado and the thunderstorm. forces of nature never blessed the people of the ice. And so one day, the ice people wandered out of their caves and they came into the land of the sun people. And they walked right up and said, look at this shit here. They got diamonds in the damn water. Kids is climbing up eating coconuts. Elders over there got barbecue. Chitlins. Honey baked yams. And the ice people got jealous of the sun people. They said, we've been suffering like this 5,000 years, and these people got the audacity to be living like this? Oh, hell no. Guess what we're going to do? We're going to take and steal and kill and manipulate, and we're not going to feel sorry for none of these sun people, because they never had it like we had it. And we're going to give them a taste of what the hell we had to go through. In fact, we're going to make their hell 50 times worse than ours. But the sun people didn't understand it. Because your heart was so good and so pure. When you saw the ice people, they came in smelling like dog mess. You gave him some black soap and took him to the river to wash his ass. And when he was done washing at the river, you brought him some shea butter. And you know how y'all love shea butter. He had strawberry shea butter, pineapple shea butter, rum raisin shea butter. You gave him a haircut. You taught the women how to take care of themselves when they monthly came. You treated them like family. And guess what? The better you treated them, the more jealous they became of you. In fact, they began to have a contempt of the sun people. Because after all, people without anything hate to feel indebted to somebody who can give them something. So the more you helped, the more they strategized to hurt. And they took over the land of the sun. And they still taking over the land of the sun. And their ancestors sent me here today to tell you sun people in here, stop acting like you come from the goddamn ice. You sun people, we got a certain way of living, a certain way of acting, a certain way of feeling, a certain way of praying, and a certain way of making. And we don't let nobody come and tell us how to operate our communities. Brothers and sisters, I know we've been raised not to hate. And I want you to continue not to hate. But please don't confuse not hate with not accepting the reality that there are people who exist who are nothing like you, want nothing to do with you, and will kill their own children to get rid of you. We're the only people made to feel ashamed of being for ourselves. And you got Negroes running around talking about slavery over. Stop talking about it. It ain't over. In fact, slavery is only 150 years old. You say, what do you mean, Doc? We've been free for 150, right? 1865, 2015, that's 150. Wrong. I would argue psychologically that slavery did not start until 1865. And I'll argue that, brothers and sisters, because if I am a slave, you do not have to put me in handcuffs. If I am a slave, you do not have to beat me. If I am a slave, you don't have to cut off my feet. If I'm a slave, you don't have to brand me with your name. A slave willingly submits. A free man has to be forced. So from the time we got here until 1865, that was free black people. The niggas came in 1865. Well, I don't know about that, Doc. I might be the exception. Because everybody's the exception. Have you noticed that? Black people always talk about, yeah, black people don't want to do no better. They never ever talk about themselves? Yeah, black people don't want to see other black. And that means they ain't want to hate me. Talking about what other black people don't want to see black people do. You tell me you're not a slave? What did you buy for Christmas, and who did you buy it from? Not only did you buy from white people, listen, not only did you buy from white people, you bought because it was being sold by white people. I want you to understand the difference. You love white people so much. You love to see them successful so much that you will see your children live in poverty so your master can live in the suburbs. Brothers and sisters, most of what you own in your house, you bought it not because you needed it. And you didn't buy it because it was quality. You bought it because it had a famous white person's name attached to it. That Louis Vuitton pocketbook, they sell them under 4 different names. Same pocketbook. The one that say Louis costs $500, but you can get the same pocketbook in a regular boutique shop for $50, but it don't say Louis Vuitton. Them same Air Jordans you can buy from Payless, the same sneaker from the same factory for $25. The quality is no different.
Bring it up.
Why did you pay $200 instead of $25 from Payless? It's the same sneaker, same factory. Because you paid for Air Jordan's name.
Bring it up, Doc. Bring it up.
And you say slavery over? In slavery, we had to walk around with our slave master's name tattooed on our body with a branding iron. And now you voluntarily brand your own self with white people's names and gotta know to tell me you free. And then you turn around and say, Dr. Johnson, you open in the school, but you're telling me my son got to live on campus to go to your school. I don't understand that. You know why? Because you sick. And if I want to make your son free, I got to get him away from you sometimes. Listen. In psychology, what's the first thing they teach about psychopathology? They teach that all mental illness comes from the family. If you got low self-esteem, let's look at your parents. You an alcohol addict, let's look at your parents. You a sex addict, we can trace the etiology to your house. Do you think only low self-esteem come from the home? Anxiety disorders come from the home? Bipolar come from the home? Post-traumatic slavery disease comes from the home. And if I'm gonna free your sons, I got to separate them away from you. Why? Because the Willie Lynch conditioning process is operating in your house. Let's talk about Willie Lynch for a minute. Some people talk about he didn't exist. He may not have. And guess what? I don't even care. The science of the Willie Lynch letter is 100% right and exact. Half the stories in the Bible didn't exist. But they still tell a profound truth. Do you realize as African people we invented what is known as the parable? White people call it the fairy tale. Well, Dr. Johnson, if black people believe in truth, why do we invent lies to tell stories? Because our ancestors recognized that sometimes the best way to communicate a truth is through a made-up story. So I don't get caught up into the truthfulness of Willie Lynch. I'm only looking at the science. Willie Lynch told slave masters a lot of things to do, but there was three in particular to which I want to direct your attention that are especially relevant for me as a psychologist. Number one, Willie Lynch said, if you want to rule your niggas for the rest of the millennium, you can control them until the day you die. The first thing you need to do is make sure you take their native tongue from them and only let them communicate through your tongue. Why? Why did Willie Lynch say they got to speak the slave master's language? Why can't they still speak Zulu or Twi or Hausa or Igbo? What difference does it make? Because Willie Lynch understood language is one of the most powerful identifiers of culture. He said it will be hard for them to remain slaves if they speak the language of their ancestors, because when you have your own tongue, it's a constant reminder that you are free. That's why they want your kids to speak standard English. It ain't got nothing to do with being educated. It's about making sure you identify with your oppressor. It's about making sure that when you tell your story must always be trapped in the vernacular of your enemy. The reason is so white people can always know what you are talking about. Do you realize we're the only people in America who cannot have a private conversation in front of white people? Mexicans, they don't like white folks, they start talking Mexican right in front of them. When Hanafi and Malawi from Iraq, in front of the white folks, they don't like it, they start hashishing all day. Chinese will flip out real quick and go into their own dialogue. Black people trap. That's why Fred Douglass Marcus Garvey Academy, we're going to teach your children how to speak a few African languages, indigenous tongue. I had a Negro email me last month. Doc, aren't you going to teach them Spanish? You know, a lot of people speak Spanish. Really? Okay. Are you aware that there's more Nigerians in Nigeria who speak Igbo in Yoruba than there are Spaniards in Spain? So why don't we teach Igbo or Yoruba? It ain't got nothing to do with how many people speak in Spanish. It's because white people value white culture and they despise black folk, and the reason they teach black kids white languages and not African language, because the belief is if your black child graduating from Atlanta public school, if they're going to be successful in life, chances are they will not be doing business with anyone who speaks an African language. It's racism, brothers and sisters. It's racism. It's nothing worse when I see African immigrant children come to America and they need language services in public school and they don't have language services for Ghanaian kids and Liberian kids and Congolese children. They got Spanish, they got Greek, they got Mandarin, they got Chinese, they got Arabic, but not a single African language do they have services for in most American public schools. It ain't about culture, it's about racism. So Willie Lynch said, take the language, give them yours. But the slave masters didn't do a good job of that. They told Willie Lynch to go to hell. We're not educating these Negroes. And Willie Lynch said, you're making a mistake. Because if you don't teach them your language and stop them from speaking theirs, you will never totally acculturate those people. And guess what has happened? 150 years out of slavery, you still speak an African tongue. Because he did not educate you, he allowed your native language to live on. Our children in Atlanta, they don't speak English, they speak African. They speak Niger-Congo dialect. Well, what do you mean, Doc? They using English words. Yes, words. But you need to understand, when you deal with language, words are only one part of a language. There's the syntax of a language, there's the grammar of a language, there's the morphology of the language, there's the structure of the language, there's the philosophy of the language. The vocabulary words is only one part. You don't believe me that you speak African? Well, then what the hell you running around talking about? So we be fixing to get something for dinner for? What white person you see fixing to do shit, okay? That's African language. Differences between European language, African language. Difference number one, we do not put strong consonant endings on our words. White people, we are about to prepare supper because Jones and his wife are coming over later to watch the ball game. White culture is about the enunciation of every phoneme in every word. Black culture is about a rhythmic expression, not of the word, but of the idea. We don't get caught up in the word, we get caught up in the idea. That's why when we talk to each other, we don't say, did you just hear exactly what I said? We say, are you feeling me right now? Because our language is rhythm. And that's why white people don't understand it, because our language is rooted in the collectivism of our culture.
Yes.
That means 5 black people can be standing in a circle, all talking at the same time, understanding each other perfectly, and white people walking and say, these people are so disrespectful. Look at them, Marvin. They're all talking at the same time. White culture is based on hierarchy. It is vertical. African culture is horizontal. So if I'm talking to my brother, another brother can jump right in. White people don't operate like that. They are hierarchy. When one person talks, everyone must shut up because he's probably smarter than the rest of us. Difference number one between white language and African language. Excuse me, number two, that was one. Our language is always and forever in the present tense. White people language is divided into past, present, and future. African people, we are a conscious people, so everything is about the here and now. So when you ask another African, did you do what I asked you to do? He don't say, I completed the task. He says, I got that. He didn't say I did it. I got it now. Do y'all understand? That's not ignorance. That's your language. If you go with me to Ghana this summer, and we're going for the 3rd time. Last year we went to Egypt and Ghana. Had a chance to climb up in the Great Sphinx. But I think I was a little scared of heights. So I'm not going to tell no lie. I went up half and came down. That's all the whole tapping I could do. And the sisters embarrassed me because they went all the way up to the top of the pyramid and came back down. The queens, I couldn't go no more. Okay, ancestors said, you ain't supposed to go 20 more stories, brother. But we went. And what we saw that we did not like in Kemet was how the Arabs have no respect for African culture. And the only reason why they value the pyramids and the cultural relics is for the money and the commerce and the tourism. We saw one Arab taking a piss in the corner near one of the pyramids. They have no respect for that culture. It was beautiful. We saw the Sphinx and we went to the light show and took a boat ride down the Nile. And it was beautiful, brothers and sisters, but guess what? I'm here to tell you that was 5,000 years ago. It was beautiful. You should see it. Our children need to see it. But your time is now. We don't need another pyramid. I don't want you building no Sphinx with my face on it. We need institutions. Our people were builders. You are a builder. African people, by DNA, construct things that their people need. We got to get back to the building of it.